Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Lancashire Innovation Festival of 2021, brought to you today from the Engineering and Innovation Centre here at the University of Central Lancashire in the heart of Preston. The theme for today's event will be health, and you'll be delighted to know that we've brought some experts from academia, industry, NHS to come and talk to you about the opportunities, developments and the exciting future that lies ahead in this arena. We know this will stimulate discussion, we know that you'll find it absorbing, and I hope the day is as enjoyable as I think it will be. Thank you very much and enjoy yourselves.
Thank you, St John. Good morning, everybody. My name is Pete Leather from the University of Central Lancashire. And this morning we're going to discuss one of the programmes that the university has been developing over the last couple of years. And I've brought along with us today the principals involved in the development of that programme. The programme we're going to talk about today is the Idea to Scale Up programme. Now, over the last several years, the University of Central Lancashire has been delivering business support programmes across the length and breadth of Lancashire, and over the last 3 years we've been working on projects with over 1,000 SMEs in the Lancashire area. And one of the things that we found is companies have many requirements as they take the businesses forward, particularly when it comes to product development, design, intellectual property, raising investment. And for each of these areas, we have a programme within the university. And what we've done is we've amalgamated all of those programmes. So what we're trying to offer now is a seamless doorway into those programmes. So what I'd like to do is ask, gentlemen, would you like to introduce yourselves and the programmes you're involved in? Martin?
My name is Martin Jones, and I'm responsible for the Innovation Clinic that actually looks at how we productise innovation, and that looks at products, services and procedures.
Hi, I'm Phil Hollyfield. I'm the project director for the Digital Plus project, and basically we assist companies with their digital needs, whether that's marketing, websites or virtual reality developments.
Hi, I'm Robert Shefferin. I'm Investment Director on the Investment Readiness programme. We're a group of professional investors who are now working with companies to seriously improve their chances of raising funding, particularly venture capital funding. And we've got a success rate such that over 6 million offers have been received recently.
And I'm Jim Richards. I'm Professor of Biomechanics here at the university. I'm also the Faculty Director of Research and Innovation for the Faculty of Allied Health and Wellbeing, and I'm directly involved with the Innovation Clinic, in particular looking at the product testing and development side, the gaining of evidence-based information to allow for that product to be taken to market.
Thanks, gentlemen. So, as I said, my name is Pete Leather. I'm the Programme Director for Investment Readiness, but we also have 2 other projects, which are the Medicom programme, which is the Medical Innovation and Commercialisation Accelerator programme, where we're working with the 4 Lancashire NHS trusts to use the skills that we have before us to help those trusts to commercialise and take to market products and services that come out of medical and clinical research. But we also have our Health Matters programme, which is in partnership with the NHS and the Innovation Agency, and you'll hear more about that later on this afternoon. And the idea of that is we work with companies who've developed product and services in the Medtech or health innovation arenas and support them to have them adopted and spread throughout the NHS. So in terms of the programme that we're developing at the moment, Phil, I'd like to come to you first. I think it's clear that the university has a significant track record and experience in working with companies in Lancashire. What do you think is the value that we bring at the moment, and how do you think by bringing all of these skill sets together we can improve upon that going forward?
Well, as you say, Pete, we've had 5 years or so of experience in this current programme of European funded projects. that we've been able to assist businesses. Basically, we've put together a number of different teams under projects. We've recruited professionals in their area, and they're very knowledgeable, and they help companies in their specific areas. As you also say, we've probably assisted over 1,000 companies in Lancashire in that period of time. So I think we have made the best of the funding that's available, and we're delivering a good service. But as you said before, we've got about half a dozen different projects, and they tend to be working in their own sort of discipline areas, whether that be product design or investment or digital, etc. So the idea to scale up concept is really to bring that together in an integrated package so that we can interact with businesses and give them exactly what they need for their development at the current stage that they're at.
Okay, so in terms of the business support, we've got all of that capability that we're bringing to those businesses. Jim, if I could come to you, an element of what we also want to bring is that we can provide the technical and professional business support, but there's also an element of companies requiring access to infrastructure capability within the university. Now, you head up particularly the health and medtech arena within the university. How do you think that the university can build upon what we're doing in terms of your area of research and our academic colleagues?
Well, I think it's absolutely crucial that when we are looking at products that we have the evidence base for their use. So that's one end of the spectrum where we are doing clinical trials to determine the efficacy and the effectiveness of different devices. What to put on the side of the tin kind of idea. What do we put on as the strapline of what the products actually do. So there's an aspect of that that we have been doing for many, many years now with many companies, both small and large. So we offer that service, if you will, for the research evidence base. But it's far more than that. It's not just the evidence base. There's a huge amount of skills that we have in additive manufacturing and advanced manufacturing techniques, not to mention really excellent skills in data and data science, and also in machine learning and computer vision. So there's a huge amount, and I've just touched on just a few things there, but across the university there's a huge wealth of academic expertise that can be accessed through these programs. So these programs almost act as a broker, as signposting for the academics. And that's within these programs, but it can also happen outside of the programs. It's not just restricted to the programs. But having that doorway, having that signposting is absolutely critical for the companies to get the best possible service that the university can offer.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Martin, if I could come to you, if you like, Jim and the academic staff work with businesses at the very earliest stages of their ideas, developing the concepts and collecting data to take forward. But then you pick up really where the concept is, and then you take it forward then, don't you, in terms of, okay, we've got an idea, but what's the next steps in terms of turning that idea into a product or service?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are large assumptions from the disparate knowledge sets that are often sitting within industry and also in academia of how to bring a product to market. We specialise in research in human-centred design. We have the evidence base to understand how people perceive the world and interact with products across, as I've said, products, services and interfaces. So how do we get a product to market? How is it viewed by the clinician? How is it viewed by the patient? That's absolutely critical. If we actually think of a product outside of the clinical industry, Dyson, how many prototypes did he need to get to his finished product? People will very often think that they've had the initial prototype, they've got the evidence base, we've got a winner. Well, actually, that's why this program is actually so strong, because it gives the strength and the group of skills that are necessary to bring a product to market. As a quick example for that, we're working on a government research project at the moment. It's looking at autonomous sensing into the body. How many skills are being used to actually deliver that? Well, the knowledge areas are 9. product, psychology, testing, AI, computing, engineering.
Design for manufacture.
It just goes on.
All of those
And this looks like a simple product to people who are not actually familiar with product design and development and manufacturing, but it's highly complex, working across multiple skill sets. And that's where project management and commercial insight really comes to the fore. And that's why this is a very important project for the region, because it realises the value, but also how to bridge to get it to a commercial space.
And in terms of, so that's the physical product, if you like, so that's the, you know, taking the idea to a physical, something that you can see, touch and feel. Phil, in terms of Digital Plus, your team are involved from a software development side, from an AR, VR side. How important is that in terms of the product development process? Because you know, the team have worked quite closely with Martin on a number of projects where there is a physical product, but then it's how do you plug that into a phone app or into a website to give it full functionality? How, you know, is that...
I think it's important to get that level of integration between physical products and what we're all living in the digital world at the moment, and we realise that through lockdown, etc., that's a very important aspect of things. So again, I think it's being able to link up the physical product with a digital extension of that's an important thing. Our project has looked at virtual reality, augmented reality. We've built entire virtual factories for a company that wants, for example, to relocate its business into Preston, and they've been able to plan out exactly where they're going to put their equipment to the nearest centimetre and to route the piping, the lines throughout the factory. So it's quite sophisticated what the teams can do these days with these new technologies that are coming along, and we can help companies get into that sort of area of work because we've got that sort of knowledge of those technologies.
And both Digital Plus and Innovation Clinic and Jim as well with his team, you're already working with the NHS in a number of areas. Martin, do you want to cover off, you know, an example of how you're working with the Medicom programme and one of our trusts?
Yeah, I can't say too much about it, obviously, but if you think about what the clinical context is, as I've already alluded to, you know, we have both the patient and also the clinician. And in this instance, the clinician actually found within the training environment a really useful product that he felt would enhance simulation. And they actually brought our team, and it's the breadth of the team, to bear on that. And we've actually taken that concept and made it more usable, more accessible, and the level of simulation has really gone to a very high level, and there's nothing in the sector like it. On top of that, we're adding advanced training and insight techniques using some quite interesting data capture, behavioural data capture approaches. And so we're really looking at how we can really embolden the offer for the NHS and therefore also improve the training capability of the NHS. And I think that's a really exciting place to be. And again, it wouldn't happen if it wasn't without the cooperation and the breadth of skills that we bring. Again, I can't stop saying how strongly I feel about this and how strong the idea and the opportunities of multidisciplinary teams working together. So where are we? We've already got proof of principle. It's taken us about 6 months. We've already got very high levels of simulation, and also we're adding value. We're also looking at how that could go to a commercial model, you know, and that's how quickly we can move across these challenges of bringing a product to market with a multidisciplinary team.
Just picking up on the commercial model, if you like, because that's, if you like, a really important part of taking it from the idea through to market. So Robert, bringing you in from the investment readiness perspective, you know, we see many businesses who have great ideas, but you know, where do you see the value of this program in terms of getting them over that last hurdle into the market, if you like, in terms of they need some money to get to the last stage?
Well, Pete, the good news is there is more money than ever before. Now is a really great time to be raising funding. But the problem is most companies aren't properly prepared. Most companies haven't actually been through a process where they've had the validation, they've had assistance with the design. We need that as the entry to the funding points, because we give the companies far more credibility. And that's proven by the amount that gets raised. But to give an example, we've had a company that's been on the programme with us, helping them raise the funding for 2 years, but it wasn't just about raising funding. It was about making sure everything was in a format that the investors wanted to see, excuse me. And most people don't understand quite what that is. And part of that was actually proving somebody wants to buy this. And we see plenty where nobody actually wants to buy it. So this company, having had the help from the other programs, then went on to get an Innovate grant. Then it went on to get SEIS investment, that's Seed Enterprise Investment Fund. It's a government scheme with tax relief for the investors. But to answer your question specifically, Pete, where we really come in is, it's the expertise. Everybody on the team has made investments. We sat behind the desk, we reviewed them. Some of us have actually run business and raised money. And it's the transfer of knowledge that's the real value.
Okay. In terms of, you mentioned Innovate UK. Jim, one of the things that the university is very capable at is working with businesses and becoming partners in terms of helping them to access some of the Innovate funding. So if you come to the university with a particular problem, the opportunity is there for support with the bids and developing the project, but also KTPs and all of those other things. Do you want to just touch on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in our I guess in recent history, if we go back, say the last 8 or 9 years, if you can call that recent, we've worked with three companies where we have taken, in essence, an initial crazy idea, done some initial testing, which we've either done using one of the programs that we've been describing, or even some small amount of private investment by the company, which has then allowed us to, or allowed the company to have sufficient confidence in the product moving forwards, that we've then gone on and pulled together collectively as a team a knowledge transfer partnership grant application. And we've had 3 successful grant applications for KTPs. We're currently on 100% record for KTPs, which is not bad for any funding.
But they are difficult to secure. It's not a walk in the park, is it?
They are not trivial. And the thing that it's really important to do is to have that really clear picture on the work packages. What work packages do we need to achieve to get to an end point, which means that you're going to have something which is marketable, that somebody actually wants to buy, I think is a really key point. So all of that is a part of the process of working out what those work packages should contain. Now, if that was left just to the academics, then you would end up with a very academic solution, which would not fit the purpose of a knowledge transfer partnership. Equally, if it was left just to the company, there probably wouldn't be sufficient evidence base which had been collated, independent evidence base that had been collated, to allow that product to be taken to market. So the project would fail. And in all the cases that we've had, we've ended up with successful products that have gone to market and done extremely well. And our latest KTP, I'll talk briefly about it this afternoon at 1 o'clock. But our latest KTP was taking really a really crazy idea for using a new technology within healthcare, in particular managing sporting injuries. So it's taking the companies in hand and working together with them to create these grants to then secure the funding. Same with the larger Innovate UK funding. We've had a number of successes with those as well. Again, working directly with the company, and the company knowing exactly what we can offer in terms of product testing and development side and the prototype testing, alongside collecting that evidence base.
which has then led the company to then companies to come to us and say, yep, can you do this part of a particular project? So articulating where the company, or for the company for them to understand where our services can provide the sufficient evidence to fit within their own programs. Again, it requires an awful lot of conversations. It requires some skill to work with the companies and not assume that we know what the companies are trying to achieve and what they're trying to do, what they want. That's often, an academic will assume that they understand what the problem is, where arguably we might not. So it's very much a two-way street.
It's a relationship.
Very much a relationship. And as a result of all of these, we've ended up with, on each occasion, within KTPs, you have a KTP associate, who is the person that does the work, or the majority of the work. And in all cases, the KTP associate has ended up being employed by the company, which is a fantastic result, because it means that knowledge base that the KTP associate has gained remains within the company itself. So they can build their own in-house testing and their own development as well. And when we see that, we know we've succeeded.
And then because of the relationship at the university, that testing can then also spill over into the university and utilise the capability, the infrastructure, the equipment that the university has as well.
Absolutely, because we can use that as leverage to draw down funding for the latest equipment, which keeps the equipment current. And the other academic side of things, which I know isn't really what we're describing here, but the other academic aspect of this is the impact that this is having on industry from an academic perspective. Now, within academia, we have to demonstrate impact of what we've done to the real world, not just within academia. So this gives us a wonderful route to impact where there's a definable or measurable thing that's happened as a result of the work by the university. So collecting that impact is extremely important for what we call the Research Excellence Framework, which is one of the mechanisms that we draw down funding from government.
Robert, we said that these funds aren't necessarily easy to access. Investment isn't easy to access, and it can be quite a fraught process if you don't understand it. And we come across many companies where they found that the investment process has happened to them rather than them being part of it. What does the investment readiness program do to prepare those companies for what lies ahead in terms of raising that money?
It really is about transferring the knowledge and the understanding of what the company and particularly the entrepreneurs are getting into. It isn't an easy process, you're quite right, and that's why so many fail. But
what's the percentage of success in terms of equity investment, for example?
Well, anecdotally, 1 out of every 100 applicants to a fund end up raising the finance.
And what's the success rate of the investment readiness program?
We have companies that have actually applied for funding, over 50% have received an offer.
So that's a significant increase on
there's a reason for that, though, and that is they are properly prepared. That doesn't mean, oh, great, they've got a business plan, they've got a pitch deck, and a meeting's been arranged. It's making sure that every assumption within that plan or that pitch deck has been validated. Because the investor's going to ask the questions, how are you going to get your sales? Our market is worldwide, it's billions, we need 1%. That's great, we accept that. But how are you going to get that 1%? What are your channels to market? Show me how you're going to get there. You may even be able to prove that somebody wants to buy it, but if you can't get there, you're not investable. Or you need to improve the management team so that you are investable.
Or the product as well.
Or the product. Interesting example. We had a furniture manufacturer. Now you might not think that's relevant for this particular day's event, but it made chairs. And it needed help with an ergonomic design for a new chair. And that came through the program here at UCLan. They went back and that got it manufactured and ready for market. We worked with the company in other ways, in making sure that the way they operated and the way they presented the proposal actually stacked up, that it made sense, that it was attractive, because when they first started, it certainly wasn't. Through their accountant, who recognised the change, their accountant introduced a business angel investor to them, who then became a non-executive director, and the company then went on. So it had come through the process of having assistance with design and product development to what is essential for every company that's looking to expand, looking for funding, and it went on and got it. Now, it wasn't a short story. It rarely is. This, again, took 18 months before anything happened. But it's an example of how companies can go from being what I would call a no-hoper to somebody or to one that actually can achieve getting investment.
Okay. Phil, I mean, one of the elements of today is around health, and that obviously incorporates the NHS. Providing products and services into the NHS is difficult, to say the least. One of the things that we've been able to do is to introduce companies to Digital Plus, and part of the reason for that is because your team, they're actively working with the NHS, and they understand the processes and the security elements and the data usage. And do you want to just expand a bit on that?
Yeah, I think it's a very important point that the university, I mean, it has its academic side in terms of teaching students, obviously. It has its academic side in terms of research, but we also have fantastic contacts and much joint working with various NHS trusts, all of the NHS trusts in Lancashire, for example. And it struck me when we were talking about product validation before that one of your projects actually, Pete, the Health Matters project, is specifically aimed at helping businesses to get their product validated by the NHS, with the NHS as collaborators in the project, which means that when it comes to trying to persuade the procurement, which is not an easy thing to get your products procured by the NHS, if you've got those resources and that backing and that relationship has already been built, then it's a fantastic step forward for those companies. In the digital area, yes, we're working with consultants in East Lancashire at the moment on a couple of projects that will help them with their daily work. But I think we can probably say all of us have got some experience of working with consultants, clinicians, and the innovation arm of the NHS. And I think that sort of linkage will definitely help smaller companies that are enrolling on our various programs, which are generally free to SMEs, that those linkages provide a fantastic step up for companies who are trying to get into the NHS and the health sector.
I think it's worth saying that we talked about business this morning, and it's really important that we support business, but through the Medicom programme, if you like, everything that you've heard this morning, if you're a clinician within a hospital or you're just somebody who works in the NHS who has an idea, then you can have the same menu of services and expertise and professionalism to develop your own products and services as well. So, you're not excluded from this process. So, if anybody is interested from the NHS, please feel free to contact your research and innovation lead within the hospital, and then they can be signposted through to us, and then we can pick up with you as an individual or as a team that's undertaking those research activities. So in terms of the Health Matters, Martin, we talked about validation of the product. So the Health Matters with the team from the NHS, the Innovation Agency, they have the clinical capability, the commercial clinical capability to say, is there a clinical need for this? And we know that some of those products, there is a clinical need, but they do need development. Now, some of the work that you've been doing on some of the medical devices you've worked with, there are some intricacies when it comes to medical devices and if you like, the legal and regulatory frameworks. Do you want to just expand a bit on that?
Yeah, I think that the legal and regulatory frameworks are well documented. I think one of the biggest challenges really within the industry is, again, how you actually get validation of the actual principle through the product or the service or the user interface. Now, it was touched on earlier around if we want to actually make a commercial entity out of that IP, that idea, that's what you need. You need the IP to actually have value in your product, in your business. Well, again, that's why I think the university is a fantastic platform for these challenges. If a clinician comes to us with a challenge or a problem or a little device or an idea
or an opportunity,
then you are in a confidential environment straight away. You are in an evidence-based space straight away, and we have the research capability to actually investigate that. If you look at the commercial world, the IP portfolio globally is expanding so rapidly, it's fraught with challenges. Patents, trademarks, copyright, we can discuss forever. But the reality of it is it's such a critical point to get to a point with your product, we'll call it in general terms, that you know you've got value in it, you know it achieves what you're looking for, and that then it is defensible, that you can bring it to us and we can identify those elements within it. And we can do it on a really affordable basis, actually funded. And from that point, we can then start to articulate it both visually and physically and build the evidence base. Now, there are two critical points to that. Number one, that we don't hurt anybody, in simple terms, but more importantly, that the base and the claim that generally goes through into a marketing type context is true and defensible and can be backed up with evidence. There are many cases, not necessarily all in the clinical world, of false claim. Has become more marketing driven. Using the processes we have within this organisation, we can ensure that evidence base of efficacy is actually in place as we build the commercial opportunity for the client, as we might call it.
Robert, Martin mentioned the IP elements, intellectual property. So part of what we deliver and part of what we have in this team is we have intellectual property specialisms. We have, one of our colleagues, Steve, is a patent attorney, for example. And we cover off a lot around the IP in regards to its importance to raise an investment. Do you want to just touch on that in terms of how that's impacted on some of the work that you've been doing?
Well, every business has IP, but the problem we find is most businesses don't appreciate that they have IP, or once it's identified, that it has real value. Every investment needs to have some sort of defence around it, some sort of barrier that prevents the competition getting in or keeps it ahead of the competition. And it doesn't have to be in technology. There are all sorts of IP. And what we do is, even on an initial screening, we focus in on this, we identify where the weakness is, and then we turn it round so it's a strength. And we make sure that the investor sees what the investor needs to see. So when they go in for investment, they've got a really improved chance of getting it.
Thanks, Robert. Do we want to take any questions, Dan?
Thank you, Peter. Yeah, we've got an audience question that's come through. So,
okay.
And just a quick, first of all, thank you to UCLan, Peter, and the team for inviting us here to today. The EIC is a fantastic place to deliver from, and it's been a really insightful conversation so far. So, thank you. We do have a question that's come through on the chat, really interesting. And the questions come from Mail Ellis, and the conversation says, lots of great discussion this morning of supporting existing businesses in Lancashire, some fantastic support available. And this goes to anybody on the panel. What perhaps is your message then for perhaps to sell to businesses outside Lancashire? Those businesses from perhaps further afield, what would your message be to them as to why they should locate here and come to Lancashire, perhaps work with UCLan for the purposes of growth?
I'll kick off if I may. I think from the message I would like to give is that Lancashire is open for business. The opportunities in Lancashire are significant, particularly if you're from part of the country where it's very expensive to be in business. You know, we always say you get more bang for your buck in Lancashire than you know, a lot of other places around the UK. I think from the capabilities that you've seen this morning, and you've seen just one from our university, there are 2 other universities in Lancashire as well, and they have, you know, capabilities in many different areas. All of those are accessible by companies, and then, you know, for those organisations that want to be part of Lancashire, to relocate to Lancashire, then the support and funding in some cases is there as a soft landing for any organisation to do that. Robert, you might be able to answer a little bit more to this, because if you like, companies are very transient at the moment, and they'll go where the money is, if you like. If you're in Lancashire, you've got the support of the team, so they don't have to be somewhere else. They can be in Lancashire and raise funds, can't they?
They can, though the key thing here is it's a level of practical expertise. We get people saying to us, you know, who perhaps apply from London or from, you know, the southeast, southwest, wherever it might be, and the question that comes is there anything in our area that you can signpost us to? Because there's a differentiator with what we are doing, and that is the fact that the people who are involved aren't consultants. The people who are involved have done the job themselves, whether it's raising money, whether it's design, whether it's marketing, whatever it might be. They've sat behind the desk, they've done it, and they've got a track record at doing it. And that knowledge is invaluable.
And we've got another question that's come in as well. The question is, how do companies access these? What's the best way for companies to, I guess, get started on the journey with the support that's available with UCLan? What's the best touch points?
We have an email address, and we'll put it on chat at the end of this. I think it's ideatoscaleup.co.uk. Idea to scale up at UCLan.co.uk, but we'll put it on the chat, and that will bring you through. And then what we can do is we can look at you as a business and what are your needs, and then we can plan then. So you might need some of Martin's time or some of Robert's time, or you might need some of everybody's time, but we can plan that out with you to make sure that you get a seamless service to achieve what your goals or your mission is.
Great, thank you. And we'll ensure that those email addresses are in the post-event emails that we send out to people who've registered and signed up and been part of the festival. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'd just like to thank the panel this morning for taking part and for sharing some of your experiences of what we do here within the Idea to Scale Up. But, you know, if anybody's got any questions, then we're more than happy to take them.
I think there's another question just popped into the chat.
Oh, we have one more question.
No, it's just a confirmation of the email address.
Yeah.
So, no, thank you.
We will put it on the chat, so it will be confirmed.
Great. Thank you very much.